Florence, cradle of the Renaissance. But between 1968 and 1985, its dark hills became the haunted hunting grounds of a killer who turned lovers' lanes into graves and left scars that Italy still hasn't healed. On August 21st, 1968, Antonio Lo Bianco and Barbara Locci were shot dead in their parked car near Florence. In the back seat was Locci's 6-year-old son, Natalino. Terrified but unharmed, he wandered into the dark countryside and found help, whispering that his mother was dead. Her husband, Stefano Malay, confessed to the murder, then retracted his statement, then changed his story again. But what no one knew at the time was that this was just the beginning, and the same killer would return again and again. Between 1974 and 1985, 7 more double homicides occurred. Each one followed a disturbing pattern. Couples parked in remote areas attacked with the same .22 caliber Beretta pistol. The bullets were always Winchester with a distinctive H stamp. Forensic experts later confirmed the same weapon was used in every single case, based on a tiny flaw in the firing pin that left a unique mark on shell casings. In each case, the killer shot the man first, then he mutilated the woman, removing her left breast and genitalia with what appeared to be surgical precision. The attacks always happened during a new moon, always in the countryside, always with method and control. In September 1983, 2 German tourists were murdered near Florence. Wilhelm Meyer and Jens Rusch. Both were men, but one had long, blonde hair. It's believed the killer mistook them for a man and a woman, and in keeping with his ritual, he mutilated one of the bodies, even though there was no woman present. That moment revealed something chilling. The killer wasn't just targeting women. He was performing a ritual he couldn't break, even when it didn't make sense. He didn't stop. He finished what he started. In 1985, a letter arrived at the prosecutor's office. Inside was a severed human nipple. The detail had never been released to the public. Only the killer would know. Florence began to panic. Women refused to go out at night. Lovers stayed home. Some began whispering that this wasn't just a killer. It was something darker, ritual, religious, maybe even satanic. The police were desperate. They investigated hundreds of people, arrested dozens. Most were released. Some would later die mysteriously. They arrested the Vinci brothers, a group of Sardinian men tied to Barbara Locci, the woman killed in 1968. But they were never convicted. Eventually attention turned to a local farmer, Pietro Bacciati, a man with a violent past and known history of sexual assault. He was tried, convicted, then acquitted on appeal. He died in 1998 before a retrial. 2 of his alleged accomplices, Mario Vanni and Giancarlo Lodi, were later convicted, but many believe they were scapegoats. No physical evidence ever tied them to the crimes, and the Beretta still missing. American journalist Douglas Preston moved to Florence in the 2000s, alongside Italian crime reporter Mario Spezzi. He started digging. What they found shook them. Corruption, fabricated evidence, a refusal to admit mistakes. Authorities turned on them. Spezzi was arrested. Preston was warned to leave the country. He did. They later wrote a book exposing what had happened. Not just about the killer, but about how the system twisted itself to protect its pride. The case was declared solved, but no one really believed it. Too many questions, too many mistakes, and too much fear left behind. To this day, many in Florence still believe the real killer or killers were never caught. The evidence that should have solved the case was buried under decades of bad leads, media pressure, and desperation. The killer's Beretta pistol had a microscopic flaw in its firing pin, a tiny imperfection that left a unique mark on every bullet casing. That's how investigators knew, beyond any doubt, that the same gun was used in every attack over 17 years, and yet that weapon has never been found. The Monster of Florence may never be unmasked, but the real horror wasn't just in the murders. It was in the fear, the silence, and the shadowy corners of a justice system that may have let him walk free. In the hills of Tuscany, among olive groves and windy roads, something evil once stalked, and maybe still does.